What if your entire life was just a carefully crafted lie? For 12 years, he built what seemed like the perfect world, a cozy home, 2 children, a wife he worshipped. But then, he found an old phone. One tap, and everything he believed in shattered. Sweet words, promises, laughter he thought belonged only to him, now stained with the names of 3 different men. A betrayal that had been unfolding for years. But instead of rage, he had a plan. And when the big day arrived, as they sat around the dinner table, there was a quiet click of a box opening. Inside, 3 envelopes. Secrets that would change everything. Ready to find out what happened next? Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now, let's get started. I once believed that love was meant to be unwavering, a solid foundation that could withstand even the most turbulent storms. Perhaps that's why I held on to Lisa so fiercely, ignoring the whispers of doubt, the subtle changes in her behavior, the unshakable feeling in my gut that something was wrong. For 12 years, we built a life together. 12 long years in which I devoted myself entirely to our family. I worked tirelessly, ensuring that Lisa and our children, Noah and Emily, had everything they could ever need. But in the end, what was it all for? The signs had always been there, appearing gradually at first. A shift in her tone, the way her eyes lingered on her phone, laughter meant for someone else. She was always texting, always stepping out to meet her friends, growing more distant with each passing day. When I asked her about it, she would scoff, roll her eyes, and dismiss my concerns with a casual, "You're imagining things, babe." Maybe she was right. Maybe I wanted her to be right. But after more than a decade together, you learn to sense when something is off. The real fractures started showing 2 years ago. Noah had just turned 9. Emily was 6. They were my entire world. And yet, every so often, an unsettling thought crept into my mind. Something about Noah's eyes. They didn't quite match mine. Emily's curls, so unlike anyone in my family. I hated myself for even entertaining the notion, so I pushed it away, until the night I found Lisa's old phone, buried in the back of a drawer she had long forgotten about. I still don't know what compelled me to turn it on. The messages were all there. Years worth. Different names, different numbers, different men. Some of the conversations were nothing more than flirtation. Others were explicit. Sickeningly so. My hands turned ice cold as I scrolled through them, my stomach twisting itself into knots. 3 men. 3. One of them, Mark, had messages dating back nearly 11 years. Everything clicked into place. The excuses, the sudden plans, the nights she claimed to be visiting her mother. It all aligned too perfectly. I spent the entire night unraveling a truth I had never wanted to know, and by morning, my decision was made. I wouldn't lash out. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of turning this against me, of making me question my own reality. No, I would handle this on my own terms. I ordered DNA tests in secret, waiting for the right moment. Lisa, oblivious, continued as if nothing had changed, kissing me each morning, sending sweet messages throughout the day, keeping up the charade of a loving wife and devoted mother. And I played along. Every lie she told, I let it pass. Every smile she gave, I mirrored. Every night she slept beside me, I held her close, knowing she had no idea that I knew everything. And when our anniversary came, I had something special planned for her. Lisa and I met in college, and for years, I convinced myself our love story was something out of a fairy tale. She was magnetic, effortlessly drawing people in, her laughter capable of making the world fade away. And me? I was ordinary. Not particularly handsome, not exceptionally wealthy, but someone who loved deeply and gave everything he had. My father had shown me what love meant, not through grand gestures, but through quiet dedication. He sacrificed everything for our family, and I followed in his footsteps. I was there for Lisa in every way. When she lost her job, I worked extra hours so she wouldn't have to drop out of school. When she cried over petty fights with friends, I was the one who comforted her. My world revolved around her. 2 years into our marriage, she told me she was pregnant. Fear gripped me. I didn't know if we were ready, but the moment I held Noah's tiny hand in mine, I knew I would give everything for him. Then, 6 years later, Emily was born. My little princess, my reason for everything. Every late-night shift, every dream I put on hold, every sacrifice I made, it was all for them. I never longed for luxury or extravagance. All I ever wanted was a home filled with love, a wife who truly loved me, and children who could be proud of their father. But this was the reality I was given in return. Looking back, I realized the warning signs had been there all along. The unaccounted-for nights out, the lingering scent of an unfamiliar cologne, the strange withdrawals from our bank account. But I had always chosen to believe her, to trust her, until the night I saw it with my own eyes. It was about a year before I found the messages. I had worked a double shift and decided to come home early. The house was eerily silent, though Lisa's car was parked outside. Then I heard it, a low murmur coming from upstairs, a man's voice. Something inside me snapped. I don't even remember climbing the stairs. I don't recall how I got to our bedroom door, but I remember pushing it open. Lisa was on the bed, her robe slipping from her shoulders. A man stood beside her, his shirt undone, his face frozen in shock. For a brief moment, the world went still. Lisa's mouth opened, then shut again. I saw the exact moment she decided to lie. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, hastily pulling her robe around her. "Not what it looks like?" The man, Mark, fumbled with his buttons, mumbling incoherent excuses, inching toward the door. But my attention had already shifted. I wasn't focused on him anymore. I looked at her, this woman I had once promised my life to, and yet, at that moment, she was nothing more than a stranger. I had never been the kind of man drawn to violence, never felt the urge to act on rage, but everyone has a limit. Without hesitation, I lunged. My fist met his jaw with a sickening crack, sending him reeling backward until he collided with the nightstand. Lisa's voice sliced through the chaos, shrill and frantic, but her words meant nothing. I didn't stop. Blow after blow, I kept swinging until the sight of my bloodied knuckles jolted me back to reality. Mark, scrambling like a wounded animal, snatched up his clothes and fled without a backward glance. Lisa was sobbing now, repeating my name like a prayer, begging me to listen. I finally met her gaze, truly seeing her for the first time in years, and something inside me withered. I wanted to turn away, to leave her amidst the ruins of her betrayal and never return. But then, down the hall, I heard them. Noah, Emily, my children. I couldn't do it. I couldn't rip their world apart just because mine had crumbled. So, I made my choice. I stayed. For them. One more year of pretending, of swallowing my anger, my revulsion, my heartbreak. And in that year, I planned. Lisa thought she had won, convinced herself that I was just another fool who forgave and forgot. She had always been a master of manipulation, distorting reality until it suited her. In her mind, she hadn't been unfaithful because she was unhappy. No, that would have been too simple. She had done it because she believed she deserved more. It wasn't until much later that I uncovered the full extent of her deception, long after my plan had already been set in motion. Lisa had a type, men with influence, men with power. Mark, the one I had caught that night, was merely one name on a much longer list. She had been doing this for years. Colleagues, old flames, even strangers from bars when she felt ignored. And me? I was the safe option, the provider, the man foolish enough to believe that love was enough. Leaving me had never crossed her mind. Why would it? I was the one who paid for her comfortable life, who took care of our children while she worked late, who provided the home she always returned to after her latest betrayal. She didn't love them. That was the cruelest part. This was never about passion or connection. It was about power, the thrill of knowing she could deceive me again and again, only to come back to a husband who would never leave. She thought I was weak. She was wrong. For a year, I endured it. I smiled. I kissed her goodnight. I sat across from her at dinner and hid the loathing boiling beneath my skin. And then, on the night of our anniversary, my moment finally arrived. Lisa was stunning, draped in the deep red dress I had given her years ago, the one she wore when she wanted to feel in control. The table was set, candles flickered, wine filled our glasses. The children sat eagerly, their faces bright with excitement. I had promised them a special surprise. Lisa beamed, believing she had erased the past, convinced she had won. She had no idea what was coming. I set a small box in front of her. "Go on, Lisa," I said, my voice calm, betraying nothing. "Open it." Her fingers hovered over the lid. Maybe she sensed something, a whisper of doubt gnawing at her. But she lifted it anyway. Inside were 3 carefully wrapped envelopes, one for Noah, one for Emily, one for her. Lisa let out a light, practiced laugh, still performing, still pretending. "What's this?" she asked, her voice coated in sweetness. I gestured to the children. "Go ahead, open them." Noah, always the braver one, tore his open first. A small slip of paper slid onto the table. Lisa's smile faltered. Emily followed, revealing an identical sheet. Inside each envelope was the same thing, a DNA test. Lisa turned ghostly pale. Noah furrowed his brows, scanning the words in confusion. "Dad, what does this mean?" I leaned back, relishing the moment as Lisa's carefully curated world shattered. "It means," I said, sipping my wine, "that I'm not your father." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Emily turned to Lisa, her small voice hesitant. "Mommy?" Lisa lurched forward, a nervous laugh bubbling from her lips. "This is ridiculous," she stammered, desperation creeping in. "Some kind of sick joke?" I smiled, slow and deliberate. "It's not a joke, sweetheart." From the box, I pulled out 2 final envelopes. Each contained a photograph and a phone number. "Since I won't be your father anymore," I said, sliding them toward my children, "I thought you should at least know who your real fathers are." Lisa's face crumpled. Her hands trembled as she stared at the evidence of her own undoing. "David," she started, but I silenced her with a single raised hand. I turned to my children, my heart aching, but my voice steady. "I love you both more than anything in this world," I told them. "But I can't stay. I won't live a lie any longer." Then I met Lisa's tear-streaked gaze, my voice turning cold. "If you have questions, ask your mother." I rose, grabbed my coat, and stepped toward the door. Lisa lunged after me, her voice cracking with panic. "David, please, please don't do this. You're ruining everything." I didn't stop. I didn't look back, because some betrayals can never be forgiven. I reached my car, yanked the door open, and dropped into the driver's seat. The engine rumbled to life just as she appeared, fingernails scraping against the glass, her face a ruined canvas of running mascara and frantic desperation. "You can't just leave," she screamed, voice hoarse, cracking under the weight of her hysteria. "You can't do this to me, to her, to them, to this family we built." I rolled the window down just enough for her eyes to meet mine. Cold. Unforgiving. "No, Lisa. You did this." With that, I pressed my foot to the gas, leaving her behind, stranded in the ruins of the life she destroyed. But this wasn't the end. It was merely the beginning. A year of meticulous planning had led to this moment. A year of pretending, smiling through the pain, playing my role like a devoted fool. But sitting in that car? That was just the prologue. Lisa thought the worst thing that could happen was me walking away. She had no idea what real consequences looked like. That night, I booked a hotel, silenced my phone, and sat alone in the dark with a bottle of whiskey. The weight of 12 wasted years settled over me, but it wasn't enough to stop me. Freedom wasn't justice, and justice was what I craved. Lisa had taken more than time from me. She had taken my trust, my devotion, my belief in love, all while weaving a lie that she thrived in at my expense. Walking away wasn't enough. She needed to fall. Step 2. Destruction. Before disappearing, I made sure to wipe my tracks, leaving nothing for her to follow. Lisa wasn't just unfaithful, she was reckless. And I had proof. The late-night messages, the hotel receipts, the secret rendezvous meticulously catalogued. But the crown jewel? One of her lovers was her boss, a married man with too much to lose. The next few days were calculated. A neatly compiled package landed on his wife's doorstep. Screenshots, receipts, undeniable proof of betrayal. A quiet, well-timed tip found its way to Lisa's company, exposing her overtime escapades. A single group message reached the wives of the other men she entertained. Then, I sat back and let the inevitable unfold. Step 3. Ruin. Her calls began almost immediately. 34 in the first 48 hours. Voicemails soaked in sobs, texts riddled with frantic apologies, voice notes swinging wildly between fury and desperation. I ignored every last one. Then the real fallout hit. First, she lost her job. Turns out, corporations don't appreciate employees who entangle themselves with married executives. Her boss? Fired. His marriage in shambles, his finances gutted. One by one, her social circle fractured, the women who once clung to her charm now recoiling from the disaster she had become. Lisa wasn't a victim, she was a virus, and now everyone knew it. The final reckoning came 2 weeks later. She arrived at my doorstep unannounced, stripped of the perfection she once wielded like armor. Her hair hung in tangled disarray, eyes swollen and rimmed with exhaustion, makeup smeared from hours of crying. I leaned against the doorframe, arms folded. "You have 5 minutes." Her voice trembled. "David, please." She reached for me, fingers clutching like a drowning woman grasping at air. "I messed up, I wasn't thinking, but we can fix this." A sharp, humorless laugh escaped me. "Fix this?" I repeated, shaking my head. "Lisa, the only thing broken here is you." Tears streamed freely down her face. "I was selfish," she choked out. "But I love you. I always loved you." I studied her for a long moment before delivering the final blow. "No, Lisa, you don't love me. You just miss the man who did." Then I shut the door. And for the first time in 12 years, I didn't look back. Weeks passed in silence. No more desperate texts, no more voicemails drowning in regret, no more futile attempts to rewrite the past. And I felt nothing. The weight I had carried for so long had finally lifted. I could breathe again. But it wasn't truly over. There was still one last battle to fight. Custody. Noah and Emily. That was the hardest part. They weren't mine by blood, but I was the one who had been there, the one who wiped their tears, stayed up with them through fevers, taught them how to ride bikes, read them bedtime stories until they drifted into dreams. They were my children. I loved them. But I had to let them go. Lisa fought viciously, painting me as a deserter, a heartless man who abandoned them. She wielded them like weapons, desperate to keep control of something, anything. But she forgot one thing. I had the truth. And when my lawyer laid it all bare, her deceit, her affairs, her betrayals, the facade she clung to crumbled before the court. The verdict? Full separation, no alimony, no financial obligation for children who, legally, weren't mine. Lisa shattered in the courtroom, screaming, sobbing, breaking beneath the reality she had built. I watched in silence, unmoved. I had given her everything once. I had nothing left to give. And when I stepped out of that courthouse for the last time, I knew the scales had finally balanced. 1 year later, people love to say revenge isn't worth it, that it doesn't heal, doesn't bring peace, that the best course is to move on, to be the better person. But you know what? Forget that. For the first time ever, I knew what it meant to be truly happy. And Lisa? She lost everything. Her career was gone, her reputation was in ruins, and any financial security she once had vanished. Desperate, she tried to crawl back to the men she had once deceived. But here's the thing. None of them wanted anything to do with her. The foundation of lies she had built her life upon crumbled beneath her feet. As for me, I turned the page. A fresh start in a new city, a job that actually fulfilled me, and the excitement of dating again. But above all else, I was finally free. Then came the last message. Nearly a year later, in the dead of night, my phone screen flickered to life with a text. The number wasn't saved, but I didn't need to guess. I knew exactly who it was. Lisa. I stared at the words for a long time. Just one simple question. Do you ever think about us? I thought about the years I had wasted, the love I had poured into someone who never once deserved it. And without a second thought, I erased the message. Some people aren't even worth a response. Lisa? She was nothing more than a lesson I'd never have to learn again. This story has come to an end. Life teaches us harsh but essential lessons. Trust is fragile. It takes years to build, but only seconds to shatter. Betrayal by those we love doesn't just hurt. It forces us to rethink who we are and what we truly deserve. But revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's justice, a well-earned reckoning for those who played with others' hearts. This story is a reminder. Never ignore the obvious, value yourself, and never be afraid to walk away from betrayal. Because true freedom doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from knowing your worth. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.